Well, in recent news, Mayor Bill de Blasio, the Office of Management and Budget, and the New York City Department of Small Business Services Commissioner Jonnel Doris announced more than $155 million will be allocated for small business recovery and job training in emerging markets in the city's executive budget for the fiscal year 2022. Now, since the beginning of the pandemic, SBS has launched 28 initiatives to help small businesses and job seekers stay resilient, including a hotline of over 57,000 callers and resources connecting 5,000 businesses to over $142 million in funding. Well, what does this all mean? We've got joining us now to share a little bit more on the details of this and more. I'm pleased to be joined by the Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services, Jonnel Doris. And Jonnel, good to have you back here on the Social Justice Forum.
Thank you so much for having me back on, Daren.
Well, I want to really look front and center right now. When we talk about small business, not only is it the lifeblood of America, it is right here in our New York City, the lifeblood of what we do. Talk to us about where we are right now and where small businesses are, because we know that post-COVID-19, a lot of people are still struggling with just trying to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think you certainly hit it on the nail on the head there. While many businesses have really struggled through the pandemic, some, have not had the ability to continue operating. Some are still trying to figure out ways to come back. We still see some bright light. We see that through the various programs, either our programs or federal programs, or the state even programs, that many small businesses were able to survive this pandemic. But while that is ongoing, we still have a sort of a mixed bag, right? And so our job is to really target and go to those small businesses that are still struggling, still having, a hard time making ends meet. They're still having a hard time coming back. And so make the atmosphere in such a way, the economic atmosphere, that they are able to come back and survive and have a chance to thrive again in our city as we begin to reopen.
Yeah. And as we begin to reopen, of course, we know that businesses are really looking to see not only full capacity, but they really want to see their business go back to, full strength. When we look at what's going on right now, a lot of businesses are really relying on these funds to really help them to be able to get through. Particularly in the borough of the Bronx, we've understood that when it came to PPP and receiving the PPP, a lot of Bronx businesses weren't even able to get that. So talk to us about SBS and the work that it's doing with small businesses trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I mean, a great point on PPP. I think there's a larger conversation about when we talk about low to moderate income communities, when we talk about communities of color, when you think about businesses owned by people of color and women. We saw, particularly in LMI communities, when they all overlap, that we didn't see a lot of resources going to those businesses. For instance, we had 103,000 LMI businesses in the city. Out of that, we saw about maybe only 60,000 receive PPP. So you got 44,000 or so left, did not get any PPP resources. So what we did was we launched our Fair Share campaign for PPP to connect folks to actually those federal funds. And it's been a real success in the sense that we're getting to the outer boroughs, right? 73% on the outer boroughs, 70% minority owned businesses. So we're really, really locking in on where the need is the most. And certainly we've put out 5 financial programs, when it comes to grants and then to loans. And, again, we continue to make sure that there's borough diversity there and make sure that we're reaching particularly our LMI communities to help those businesses who are really struggling, like in the Bronx and other parts of the city the most.
Yeah. So what has been the biggest challenge for you dealing post-COVID-19? I mean, obviously trying to keep businesses afloat, hearing the cries of the people. What's been the biggest challenge for you?
Yeah, I think, look, one of the biggest challenges for us is just, if you can imagine going through a pandemic with little to no resources, right? When you think about the city at the time was $9 billion in deficit, right? During the height of the pandemic. And I think that was basically a challenge. And at the time, the federal government was not really moving to give any kind of real assistance down to the municipal level. And so we kept, of course, going and making the case that you need to get funding and resources to the local government so we can help our local businesses. And it wasn't on, but a little bit after that reality that they actually came finally with the PPP program to help small businesses. And so the months and months and months went by with no help. And the city, we launched the first in the nation small business loan and grant program to help small businesses right at the start of the pandemic. But the biggest challenge was really around resources, being that the city and the state were at deficits. The federal government was not acting at the time, and we sort of had to wait a very long wait to help our small businesses with the magnitude of help that they need, like the PPP program.
Yeah. So businesses do need help, and we know there's some financial resources available. There are some COVID-related loans, and I know there's some deadlines that are coming up. Share with us a little bit about those loans and the deadlines.
Yeah, so there's several programs that are out there. One, as we talked a little bit about PPP. Just so you know, we do have at the end of the month is when the PPP program is slated to close, but it was slated to close before they extended it. But we just want everybody to just be aware. If you haven't signed up for it, visited your local lender yet, or your bank or your financial institution, you can definitely reach out to us at SBS, and we will help you and assist you through our Fair Share program. There's also the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. That grant is a federal grant program that provides emergency assistance for eligible venues affected by COVID. A lot of our venues were shut down, and they were not even able to operate. So that's $16 billion set aside for those. We also can help you with that with our Curtains Up program that we have at the city. Then we also have the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. This is a really, really important one. As you can imagine, restaurants was uniquely hit during this time, and the federal government has provided this grant, just opened up this week, really, to give assistance to restaurants who were impacted. That's about $28.6 billion. The only issue with these is that they're nationwide, right? So everybody's competing for them. So we stood up again our Fair Share Restaurants program, the Fair Share PPP program, and the Fair Share Curtains Up program, all to help small businesses connect to these grants, helping them with the paperwork, giving them webinars, training, reviewing their paperwork, making sure that they understand all they need to actually move the needle on actually getting an opportunity to participate in these programs. And if you allow me, I'll just add the other piece, which we're very excited about, and I think you sort of introduced this in your introduction. Really is the announcement the mayor made, right? An additional $155 million in small business support and aid. We're getting a $100 million loan program, together to help small businesses. We're going to get a $100 million grant program from the city to help small businesses. We're putting investments in helping small businesses reopen fast by making a one-stop shop available for small businesses, making it easy for them to engage with the city and open their business. And then we're doing all types of investments in training, technology, healthcare, food services for our workers. Many people don't know, we also manage the workforce program of the city. We helped close to 80,000 workers during the pandemic to connect to opportunities, to training, and just answering their questions and making sure that they understand what is available for them. So, we'll continue to do that, but certainly these are financial programs and other types of programs available for small businesses and workers right now.
Talk to us about the mayor's program, because obviously he's dumping a lot of money into this, or at least the announcement that a lot of money is going to be dumped in. And then there's also, in addition to the mayor's program, there's also another challenge that we have out in the community. A lot of people worried about minority and small-owned businesses as well, because, many times access to resources does not happen, particularly in minority businesses. And so give us a little bit about where you see that landing and what minority businesses can look forward to.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, but my job with the city started with as the first head of the mayor's office of minority women-owned business. We developed a program that has gotten city contract into minority businesses, or MWBEs, to $17 billion since the launch back in 2015. So look, we believe that even during the pandemic, we're close to $1 billion in aid to small businesses and contracts to those minority MWBE businesses. And so we understand the need. Listen, Black-owned businesses, for instance, were closing twice as fast as any other business in the city. We saw losses across the board from Asian, Black, and Hispanic businesses, upwards of 75% during the pandemic when it comes to revenue loss. We saw that, those businesses are 3 times as likely to be rejected, Black businesses, from banks to get help and support. And the list goes on. And so what we sort of set up is a few things. One, to maximize our MWBE program, which is something that the city has. You get certified and you can work with the city, and we will work with you to get contracts with the city. Again, we mentioned we already did 17 billion since the mayor made those announcements and commitments, and we're already did about close to $1 billion in pandemic related contracting to small businesses that are minority and women owned. And so we have those programs set up. We also really are looking to make changes even in our programs that we provide and initiatives. We have the BNYC program, which is very specific program to really deal with the lack of Black entrepreneurship in the city and supporting the growth of that. Black New Yorkers are 23% of the population and make up only 3% or a little more than that of the businesses. And that's a huge gap. We know that if you're going to deal with the racial wealth gap and also poverty and generational wealth, you've got to make sure that we deal with entrepreneurship. And part of that is what we're doing with the BNYC program.
Give us a little bit about where we are in regards to the digital divide, because in addition to all of the challenges that businesses are facing right now financially, the one part that we're talking about is that digital component. We know that students and teachers had to make the adjustments for the digital divide, but also businesses are now going to have to pivot by way of the digital divide. How are you seeing small businesses being affected in this area?
Oh, this is a critical point. Look, we understood this. We know that this was a challenge and done several things to address it. We understood that if you are a small business now, if you do not have a digital storefront, you're at a disadvantage. Meaning, if your business is not online or you can able to deal in e-commerce, you will have a challenge in this environment when everything is seemingly going online. So what we've done, the city launched $757 million in capital investment to launch our digital, to address the digital divide program. And so we're dealing with that with our broadband program and initiative that we've put forth to make sure that this gets into all communities. We believe that we can reach about 600,000 New Yorkers, including many businesses, with this particular program. We've also launched a training for your employees program that's providing no cost online training, right, to New York City-based business owners and their employees to help them with courses like, Zoom and Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, online marketing, e-commerce, and the like. And, as simple as it sounds, many businesses, number one, they don't have the time to figure out how to do that. They don't have the resources to train their employees. So we're beginning to do it for them, and we're helping them bridge the digital divide, bringing direct help to those businesses. Also, we offer webinars on e-commerce, to our small businesses, teaching them how to, talk about your business in a way, how to pitch yourself, how to, taking your business online. That's a big thing. How to build a website, creating content for your customers that has value. And, we also connected with really some first-in-class corporate partners like Deloitte to launch a small business recovery playbook. And that helped businesses also to understand what tools they need to respond, to recover, and to thrive. And then lastly, another partner, MasterCard, which we've been working with specifically around our BNYC program and our MWBE programs around how do we bridge the digital divide through their Digital Doors initiative, which helps those businesses connect, again, bring their business online, connect with customers online, and really support them in bridging that digital divide.
Did you have an idea as to how many businesses, I mean, personally, did you have an idea like how many businesses were really challenged with this digital divide thing until COVID hit? Or did you think like most people, well, most of these guys are doing all right?
No, it's we have the direct numbers. I mean, you can estimate, a third of businesses. I mean, just depending on if you just look at where the businesses fall within the landscape, or the significant number of businesses were struggling with this. And even if you understood that you needed to do this or had some sort of expertise around it, did you have the time and did you have the resources, right? And so what we were able to do is plug those holes, right? We took that sort of the time issue away by actually going directly to the employees and training them for you, resources, connecting you with these really amazing companies like Deloitte and MasterCard to really help bridge that divide. And then even through our own programs to provide those resources and training necessary to help those businesses.
So when we talk about moving forward, there's a lot of things that small businesses can consider. They can consider, applying for resources, getting help. They can consider, taking certain avenues by way of loans and or grants or participating. So from your estimation, in this time right now, are there more resources than ever? I was having a conversation with a business owner before. They're saying, "I seem like I can't get the necessary help." And then on another side, you have somebody say, "Well, there's more resources now than ever due to COVID-19." How would you pan out the resources and then accessibility?
Yeah, look, it is a unique situation we're in, right? There's a tremendous amount of federal resources. I just listed a bunch to you. From helping restaurants to helping shuttered venues to helping just small businesses in general. I mean, unprecedented investments in small businesses. And also, of course, from the city and the state just announced $800 million to help small businesses. The city's putting out its dollars and adding on what we've been doing over the pandemic, the 28 programs we've launched. I mean, it can be overwhelming, right? And the ability for a small business to sift through all of this, could be a challenge for some small businesses. And that's why we really set up our hotline. And hope we can share that number. That hotline is so important. We got nearly 60,000 businesses reached out to us during the pandemic, and we've been able to help them. So that hotline is 888-727-4692, 888-727-4692. Or 888 SBS for NYC. If you just call that number, we have folks there waiting to help you, to support you, to give you all the help that you need. Or you can go to nyc.gov/SBS online. All the things I talked about are right there and ready for you. And then we're able to help you sort of think through, what is best for me. Some people, like you mentioned, Daren, this thing is so important. Not everybody wants a loan. Not everybody can, afford a loan. Maybe you're just looking for grants, right? Even though grants tend to be smaller, but you don't have to pay them back, right? Loans tend to be a little bit bigger. You can use them to invest in your business, to grow your business or help your businesses sustain and stabilize. But the biggest thing that we tell small business right now, if anything that you go after, is the PPP program, because it's essentially a forgivable loan. And that is important, meaning that, if you follow a few steps and follow their requirement, which is not much, it's now down to, I think, a page or two that you have to fill out, that now becomes a grant essentially to you. So we encouraged folks to first go there. Through us, of course, we help you through our Fair Share PPP program. We will help connect you to that resource because it is a forgivable loan, which essentially turns into a grant.
Yeah. Well, when we think about businesses right now and the challenges that are facing businesses, one of the things that, this pandemic has caused people to be is become more creative. Talk to me about entrepreneurship. What are you hearing about that? Because have we seen more entrepreneurs start to want to rise up to get that business going, to do that because of COVID-19?
Yeah, you know, it's really, really interesting. In the height of the pandemic, we were discovering, and I think this was great in so many ways, that, you know, the crisis have sort of spawned innovation, and folks were being innovative. We had businesses, for instance, who were caterers, now delivering actual food, came into the food delivery business to seniors, right, through the city's program. We've got restaurants who were shut down, who then applied to be a part of the city's food program to serve New Yorkers, and actually cooking and using that that as a resource to help so many New Yorkers, but also help their business. We saw businesses pivoting in the sense that, you know, consultant firms joining hands together and then really attacking something that they've not really attacked before, or going into a tech space or launching out into another industry. You know, you've got folks who are in the clothing and fashion industry started making masks and gloves and face coverings. I mean, all that innovation we saw. We also saw leading up to the pandemic, and I think during it, really out of necessity, a real spike in the growth of also businesses in the city, increase in the number of Black businesses at that time. They were growing at 4 times faster than white-owned firms in the city. When you think about it, a lot of that is out of necessity because folks, you know, were losing jobs or weren't able to get promoted on the job that they're in, or the instability in the market, and stepped out really and went into entrepreneurship. So we've seen a lot of innovation happening right now during this time. And really, as a core principle, we have our 3 core principles here at SBS, and innovation is the first one, right? We were talking about how do we make businesses more innovative, making them more creative, doing things that, you know, sort of out of their normal wheelhouse, spreading their wings a bit, learning new trades, learning new tools, learning new ways to actually attract customers and grow their business. We've seen a lot of that even during the pandemic, because really this is an opportunity also. Unfortunately, it has happened this way, but certainly during this time, the city needed things, the private sector needed things. You know, the tech sector, as we heard and continue to see, continues to grow significantly. The health sector continues to grow. Even during the pandemic, the food sector, the ways of, you know, how we engage with our restaurants and our food eateries around the city, and even our grocery stores. If you think about bodegas, if you think about now, folks are delivering to you. I mean, all that logistical processes needed innovation and creation to actually do it. And that's what we've seen during this pandemic.
Yeah. Share with us a little bit from you, from a personal perspective. What's it been like for you trying to navigate and handle all of this? You know, nobody anticipated a pandemic would come, but with all this thrust on your shoulders right now, talk to us about what it's been like for you trying to navigate pandemic, post-pandemic, and still be able to keep these businesses across the city afloat.
Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure, for me to help businesses. I mean, part of why we are public servants is that we want to help people and to see those workers get jobs, to see those businesses come back. That's the joy, that's the fulfillment that we get, right? And as a man of faith, I rely heavily on that to keep me, sort of in a place of optimism, particularly when it was very dark out there, right? When everything didn't look great, when we were all trying to figure out our way out. But we're at the place now that, as the mayor continues to say, look, this is recovery for all of us. Not just a few people we want to recover. We want the entire city to come back. And that is what brings me the energy, brings me the joy to see folks, families who were impacted by COVID-19, like so many of our families who have lost loved ones, who have lost jobs, who have lost their business, that we have a role to play as government. We have a significant role to play in how we help these people come back, how we help them grow, how we help them develop. And that's really what brings me joy, gives me life, gives me the energy to keep going. So I appreciate you asking. And certainly it's been a challenge, but we wake up every day with my great team here at SBS and across the city, and the mayor who's sort of entrusted the work into our hands and given us the tools to get there and do what we need to do. I think we're well on our way, getting our city back.
Well, And is there estimation on your part? How long do you think it'll take? I mean, with what you've seen and what you've canvassed the ground, how long do you think this recovery can possibly take for small businesses in our city?
Yeah, it varies. Right now we're seeing a massive increase in so many levels. Foot traffic we see up. We see revenue, sales are up. We see that over year that most job postings have gone up significantly. So we know the city is coming back. These indicators are there. But it's going to be a challenge for some of our small businesses, particularly those who have been hit in our LMI communities, low to moderate income communities, or communities who have been hit the hardest by COVID. The city has identified 33 communities around the city, which have been really, really devastated by COVID. And we see that in those communities, that's where we're targeting our resources. That's where we see the need to continue to do all we can to bring those businesses back. That's what those loan and grant programs I mentioned before are going to be focused, right? They're going to be focused on LMI communities, low to moderate income communities, and communities hardest hit by the COVID pandemic. And that's when we sort of infuse these communities with the resources, the help and assistance and support, then we will continue to see them grow and come out of this even better. But certainly, many estimates as the direct time, the mayor has announced July 1st, as the city's big reopening, and we're pushing to that date for as many small businesses as we can to help them reopen, to help them come back. We also heard going into September, where we're going to see sort of on a more global perspective that the markets and the supply chains and the economy begins to sort of make the right turn in the right direction for sustainability going forward.
Well, certainly we want to thank you for taking the time and sharing with us a lot of information in terms of where we're going as a city. I know you've had your work cut out for you, but honestly, it's really been a joy to see the recovery, slow but sure. And as we move towards July the 1st, I think a lot of us are excited about the possibilities, particularly in the area of small business. Jonnel Doris, thank you so much for being with us here on the
Thank you
Social
so much,
Justice.
Darren. Thank you.
All right.